Hey everyone, and welcome to the stream today. I am Danny Xander, and today we are going to be designing a deep, powerful bass with the signature wobble sound using an LFO. So, to modulate the cutoff. This sound will be useful for adding energy and movement in your bass lines, and we'll walk through setting up the oscillator, shaping the sound with filters, and creating the wobble with modulation. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open up Reaktor, and you're greeted with three different options inside of Reaktor when you open it up. One is gonna be the play option. You can play an instrument inside of Reaktor. A second one is gonna be the patch option, which you're gonna patch together modules inside of Reaktor. And lastly, your last option is going to be a build. You're going to build from scratch modular synths and samplers and effects and other sound design tools. So today we're going to be using the build section and we're going to build out our sound. So we click on the build section. When you open up the build section, you're going to be greeted with three different options on the top left: player, library, and files. One is your section for instruments and effects, while the second hosts anything that's from factory content, and the third is local files on your computer. We're mostly going to be inside of the player tab today and using these blocks to build out our modular synth. If you want to look to your right, you'll see an info tab that you can use to toggle on and off information, and this will tell you basically how each thing is connected and what it does. So for example, if I bring in a block, you'll see that when I click it in, you'll see that when I hover over it, information pops up, and that's really useful for getting information that you need to make a decision on what you're going to patch together. So I'm going to erase this block. That was just an example, and we're going to continue the build. So to make a powerful bass, we'll need a solid low frequency oscillator, and I'll be starting with a sine wave. I'm going to open up and grab an oscillator here that has a sine wave in it. This is our basic oscillator from the Bento Box collection, and this is going to be our sine wave. So we're going to add this sine wave, and it's going to be, I'll start with a saw wave, and it looks like a saw wave looks like this. When we change the waveform, it looks something like that. There's two different saw waves. You can go positive saw wave, negative saw wave, but that's for another video, another conversation. But we can talk about this saw wave right here. This is the wave we're going to be using, and we'll set it to a low octave. So we'll make it, let's say, -12, and then basically that's an octave down, and then we'll get to the bassy sound so that we can get a bassy sound. Basically, if you want a cleaner sound, a sine or triangle wave would work too, but I'll start and stick with a saw wave for the most intense effect that we're trying to creating a bass sound. So now we're going to add a filter to this. Let's add a low pass filter to shape the tone and tame the sound of the high frequencies. So this filter will be key to creating the wobble effect. So we'll tame the high frequency with the filter. We'll add in a filter. Let's go add a filter from here, and then we'll create an order here. Make sure everything's in order. We'll bring our filter to the right, and then so adding a low pass filter and connecting it to the oscillator, we're going to adjust the cutoff of the low range so that we're focusing on the bass frequencies. So we're going to allow the lows to pass. We're not going to cut the lows. We're going to allow the lows to pass. So that's how I memorize, low pass and high pass. I think it's really useful. I haven't really heard anybody say it like that, but low shall pass, high shall pass. So that's just a little tip for you. And then so we're going to actually connect it up, and let's add in a note in so that we can actually run the oscillator. So we're going to go into Bento Box collection. We're going to add in our note in, our utility note in, like so. Then we're going to grab that out, and you can hear the sound, but we have no control over the amplitude. You can actually connect to left and right, but We have no control over the amplitude right now because we didn't add any control for that. So I'm going to move this note into the left just so that our panel is organized and we can see what we're doing. It's really crucial to keep your panel organized in everything that you're doing so you know which connections go where. So we have a sound right now, but we can control the cutoff of the low and high frequencies with this knob, but we want to actually cut off a little bit of the highs, keep the lows, and we want to have a little more control over the amplitude. We're going to turn that off for a minute by hitting the off button, and then we're going to adjust the rate of the LFO. We're going to add an LFO for wobble effect, and we're going to connect it to modulate the cutoff of the frequency filter. So we're going to grab an LFO from the bento box collection. We're going to connect it to the filter, and we're going to allow it to modulate the cutoff of the filter. So that's not the filter's here. So we're going to modulate the cutoff. So if we turn it on, we can see the LFO is modulating that cutoff for a low wobble bass sound. So we want something dialed in about there. And then from that point, we can keep going and we'll adjust the rate of the LFO to control right here. Adjust the rate of the LFO so that we can control the speed of the wobble. And we'll try to slow the wobble a little bit at first so that so then it will increase, and we'll increase it later and see how it changes the vibe of the sound over time. So we'll do something like that. But right now we want to kind of slow it down so we have a slow wobble. And then to make the bass sound even more aggressive, let's add a bit of distortion, and this will give some edge and help it stand out in the mix. So let's add some edge to the sound. Let's go in, add some effects. Like some distortion. We're gonna hook it up in next in chain. And there we go, we got some distortion lined up. Gonna organize our panel so everything's in order. Distortion is last in chain. Just so everything's neat and tidy. We're gonna turn up, see how it affects the tone. There we go, we got something cooking now. So, not too much, you don't want to overdo it, but there is no such thing as overdoing. It's just a matter of taste and what you like and to hear in a bass sound. So let's dial it in. We don't want more output, we just want it to stay the same. Let's dial that in, and then so you'll notice the sound get richer and fuller. So we connect that module in after the filter and dial it in carefully like I'm doing right now. And we don't want to dial in too much distortion because then it'll make it muddy, and we don't really want a muddy sound. But a little can go a long way here, just like a little bit of distortion. So we'll just dial in a little, and then so you'll notice the sound get richer and fuller now. And basically, with the gritty texture, it'll add some character to the sound, and it really adds an impact as opposed to just leaving it as how it is. So that's really, really good. And lastly, let's play a short bass line to see how this actually functions and how it sounds. Basically, so we got a bass line cooking. Let's turn it up so you can hear it. It's turned up a little bit. So it sounds pretty good. Turn that back up. Got our bass line going. So if you want to have more control, you can try automating the LFO or over time, of course, or just the actual the filter settings to make it more or less high pitched or low pitched, and add a variation to the wobble effect. So feel free to go crazy, try it out, let me know how it goes, and yeah, if there you have it, basically, a heavy, gritty wobble sound, perfect for electronic music. And if you enjoyed and want to learn more advanced techniques, if you enjoyed this, I invite you to join my upcoming sound design course, and we'll explore everything from bass sound design to lead pads and more. Just enter your email below in the sign up, and there'll be a waiting list there for you. Just join the wait list, and you'll be the first to know when it becomes live. And thanks for tuning in, and happy sound designing. Peace out.